Hey everybody, Vestaviri here, and welcome back to another local video. Before we get this duel started, I just want to mention that I have 3 more videos recorded after this duel, not before, my bad. If you've noticed in the last video, it was called, Pre-Blazing Dominion. Yeah, that video, along with this one, and the 3 videos that I've mentioned, is Pre-Blazing Dominion. It was recorded weeks before this video's release. So hopefully after those videos are released, well, not hopefully, after this video is released along with the 3 others, we will be at post Blazing Dominion, so my Kewl Tune deck will be definitely updated, and I will drop a deck profile for what deck, for the cards I'm running for this duel, along with the 3 duels in the previous videos. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get started with our duel. So as you saw right there, I lost a die roll, and we are facing off against Branded Dracotail. My bad there. So yeah, I lost a die roll. My opponent decided to go first, and he starts off right away with Branded Fusion, and I chained Fua, and as you saw in his hand, he had the Ash Blossom, and if I remember my hand correctly, it was Fua, Imperm, and I think it was just like a mix and 2 other. I think Q was also in my hand too. I don't remember. All I know is that I remember Fua and Imperm were in my hand. So as you saw, he Ash Blossomed my Fua, and he proceeds to just go crazy. You're gonna notice right away, this guy is going fast. I didn't catch his name, or remember his name for that matter, but yeah, as you're gonna notice, he's going fast. He's shuffling through his cards in both his hand, his deck, his graveyard, pretty much everywhere. Right now, he's just kind of taking his time, going slow. But as you can see, yeah, just notice how fast he just activated that Rahu Dracotail, and notice how fast he sent that Lucius, as well as just surfing through his deck to send Urgula to his from his deck to the graveyard. It's crazy. Yeah, you're gonna be noticing this quite a lot throughout this first duel, that he just goes very fast. But anyway, what is Dracotail branded? Well, if you're not at all familiar with Dracotail, or Branded for that matter, they are a fusion-based strategy. They fusion summon quite a lot, but the Dracotails in particular, they fusion stuff from the hand a lot. And when they do, when their monsters are used as fusion material, they set their spells and traps from the directly from the deck to the field, which is insane. And yeah, just notice how fast he's going. He added he added Lucius with Urgula's effect, which by the way is not a cost. He has to, because Urgula has to target first, and then it goes back into the deck. He as you saw, he just immediately put it back into the bottom of his deck. And just he summoned Sanctifier, and then just summoned Frixil, put 5 mana on the field, and added back to his hand. Just all of that in the span of, it's hard to keep up, honestly, just how fast this guy was going. But anyway, as you saw, his board was Sting and Horn, and then that quick play spell, Fallen and the Virtuous, and then an unknown middle card in the middle of his spell and trap zone. And I can pretty much guess what it is, just from the other 2 Dracotail spells and traps. We'll go over them soon. It's just, everything goes by pretty fast. And I'm just gonna let you know, I'm gonna break this board with straight engine, just with the Kewl Tunes by themselves. As my boy Fatalmon would say, that we're just gonna straight up bait stuff. We're just gonna make our opponent activate stuff for no reason. So I normal summon the Q to summon Mix, and then add Rekko with Mix. And then instead of going for the red seal, the RS, I went for Loudness War to ensure that Summonless Trap cards does not work on me. And to my surprise, he just let everything go through until the summon of Loudness War. So now he's just reading over the Loudness War, and he's like thinking, because that's what he said. But I was like, wait, I got chains. So yeah, I'm activating my cards, and I'm just gonna let you know, we forget to resolve Q's effect, but I feel like even if Q resolved, it wouldn't really change what is about to happen in this duel. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna end up breaking this board because my opponent is right now activating Fallen the Virtuous, and what that card does is it has two effects. On activation, you have to declare which effect you're activating. The first effect is you could send a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albus from your extra deck to the graveyard to target and destroy a card. Or if you have an Ecclesia monster in the graveyard, you can special summon any monster from either graveyard. And as you can see, my opponent on Loudness War's activation, as well as the activation of Recco, he's just activating Flame and Horn. So what Flame does is you can target any face-up spell on the field, negate its effects, and then return a Dracotail card from your graveyard or banish back into the deck and then draw a card. And then Horn is practically the same thing, except you have to target a monster in an attack position. And with Loudness War being in defense mode, that card doesn't do anything against me. And as you can see, I'm just very confused as to like why he did all of that. I think he valued the card draws off of the two trap cards, and because they were being threatened to be destroyed, he just like kind of like instinctively activated them, considering. Oh wait, no. Okay, so now I remember. So one of my cards in my hand is called By the Grave. We'll get to that. But yeah, I activate Duelist Genesis to add Kewl Tune Synchro, and then before I could even continue my plays, my opponent is going to activate Fimena. Yep, there it is right there. So Fimena. Right, on the activation of Fimena, I activate Called By, and he could have done something to save that Fimena, but instead he let it resolve. So what Fimena does is during the main phase, you can discard her to fusion summon a dragon or spellcaster from your extra deck. And then Called By the Grave is a pretty infamous staple card. For 2 turns, you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and then until the end of the next 2 turns, that monster banished by the effect is negated. Remember that, by the way. So yeah, as you can see, majority of his board is gone. He activated his 2 trap cards instinctively when they were being threatened to be destroyed, and then now he's left with a Dracotail Frixel, Arthalion, and a face-down Sting. And I was right about that middle card being Flame, because honestly, what else would it be? So, to briefly go over Arthalion, because it's going to be destroyed, and I won't lie to you, this will be the only time you'll see this card in the duel, but when it's fusion summoned, you can target monsters on field or in the graveyard, equal to the amount of monsters used in the hand to fusion summon it. Well, not equal, up to. So like, if you use like 3 cards in your hand, you can choose to target only like 2 or 1. But yeah, as you can see, right at the end of the battle phase, he activates Sting to banish Recco and Duelist Genesis. So at this point, both of my Reccos are banished. So one of them is banished off of Loudness War, and now the other one is banished off of Sting. That's okay, because I play 1 more Recco in my deck, and it will matter. So if you can tell from his hand, he has Branded Fusion. So you try to activate Alba Lenatus, which when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a polymerization or fusion spell. And he can't resolve Albalinatus because he already has Branded Fusion in hand. And then as you saw in his other hand, yeah, he has Fua, but another card he has is Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous. But we'll get to that. So he activates Fua at the start of his draw phase. So on chain to that, I don't know, I'm just letting you know right now, however I sequence this doesn't really matter, because what I thought is, I have to activate Synchro and then have Remix activate. I then realized it don't matter. I'm gonna end on an RS anyway. So yeah, with Remix I add Q and summon Mix, and then with Synchro I add Reco to summon Red Seal. And yeah, this will matter quite a lot. So I'm in a pretty good position. So yeah, just notice this. He picks up my cards, and like in just a few seconds, he just like looks over them. This will come back. Trust me, this will come back to him. So yeah, notice in his hand. So on the start of his turn, he special summons Ecclesia because he has less monsters than I do. And then he activates her, and then summons Fallen and the White Dragon. And then he summons Ecclesia, and then yeah, I'm just gonna let the clip. I'm just gonna let the audio recording explain what will happen here.
Basically, just does each random engrave.
Hello there.
Oh, the Ecclesia is level 5. Yeah, as you can see, he can't summon Ecclesia, the Dark Dragon, because it's a level 8. But Ecclesia is level 5 because of RS, because her attack is 1500 attack. To remind you of what Red Seal's effect is, while she's on the field, any monster my opponent controls with 1700 or less attack are increased by 1. So Ecclesia is now level 5. And as you can see, my opponent is just kind of struggling right now because he's just reading over my cards and just wondering what to even do. And yeah, now he's just like reading them carefully and being like, what do I do? So yeah, we'll talk about Albaz and Ecclesia in a moment. But yeah, as you can see, he's just surfing through his options as as he's just kind of wondering like how does he deal with my board. And as you can see, he has the Branded Fusion in his hand after drawing it. Yeah. So he normal summons Lucius, and then yeah. Remember when I mentioned Called by the Grave? Yeah. Yeah, it's fine meta, and I'll just let the rest of this clip play it out. And against Dracotail, I sided in like a lot. I think I sided in a bunch of board breakers. Yeah, I remember my hand is distinctively because honestly, this was kind of like my favorite of the moment. So at the start of the main phase, he activates the Fallen and the White Dragon. So what that does is okay. So yeah, notice how in the first duel I activate Fool, well, I activate it again, and he had the Ash Blossom. So anyway, yeah, sorry. Yeah, like I said, this guy's going fast. So like right as he activated Brand Fusion, he's about to go into his deck, but I had Ash Blossom. Yeah. So before yeah, as you can see, he's kind of spiraling right now because he's now locked into fusions after activating Branded Fusion. But yeah, I'll go over the effects. Fallen the White Dragon. You can reveal it in hand to. Send a monster, a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz's material to summon it from hand, and then on summon, summons an Ecclesia monster from deck. Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. Tribute her during the main phase, I believe. I think it's the main phase. But yeah, you tribute her to summon a Fallen of Albaz from deck. And then Branded Fusion, I think we all know what Branded Fusion does, but just in case, you can fusion summon a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as a material by sending monsters from hand, deck, or field. Yeah. But for the rest of the turn, well, not for the rest of the turn, the moment you activate the card, you are locked into fusions. So as you can see, he kind of screwed up right there because that monster he tried to summon in the last duel, Fallen in the White, that Ecclesia Synchro monster, yeah, now he can't summon that because he activated Branded Fusion. So yeah, I remember my hand distinctively. Yeah, just notice this. I banish an Ash Blossom for Red Seal's effect, and then I have another one. I drew all 3 of my Ash Blossoms, all 3 of them, and my opening hand, and then 4 was my other card, and then Nyx. You notice right there at the start of my turn, I normal summon Rekko. I feel like what I should have done was normal summon Nyx, add Q, and then summon Red Seal. But I didn't do that, and yeah, as you can see, yeah, if you could take a look at my opponent's hand, he has Droll and Lockbird. That never activates. I'm just gonna let you know right now, it's just gonna be stuck in his hand. So yeah, he uses Ecclesia again, and then summons another Fall in the White Dragon. And this one shocks me because, yeah, he declares the effect of Albaz, and I'm like, okay. And you can just notice he's taking his time. So if you take the moment, you can see his entire hand. Urgula, which is not a card you want to see. Branded Fusion, a card he add off of Alba Lenatus. Droll Lockbird, and there's one other card that was there. I believe it's a Retaliating Sea. I don't know. But, yeah, as you saw, he summons a second Ecclesia from his deck. And I was shocked, because 9 times out of 10, when you see a Dracotail branded player, they're playing Ecclesia at least 1 copy. I don't see the logic of playing more than 1, I'm gonna be completely honest. So now my opponent can't even summon Ecclesia, the Synchro. So, yeah, I'm just going to take this time to go over her. What she does is, you can banish her to summon a monster, mentions Fallen of Albaz, specifically a level 4, from deck or graveyard. And then, if she is in the graveyard, you can target her and a Albaz Fusion monster in your graveyard and 1 card on the field, and shuffle them into the deck. So, as you can see, my opponent is kind of spiraling. As you can see, he sets the Branded Fusion. I don't see the logic behind that, but yeah, he sets the Branded Fusion. I offered to to let him cut his deck, my deck, and he's like, nah. And I top deck a card that changes this entire duel. And I feel like if he did cut, I wouldn't have top decked it. I would have top decked it like something else. But yeah, as you can see, I'm looking over my opponent's graveyard, and I'm looking over my extra deck, thinking like, is there anything you can do? And I was like, yep, I know what to do. So I activate Illusion Gate. That's one of the cards I side decked in. What Illusion Gate does is you pay half of your life points, destroy all cards your opponent controls, and if you do, you special summon a monster from their deck to your field. So it's a Raigeki and a Monster Reborn all in one, which is crazy. And my opponent, he makes a big misplay. He activates Ecclesia, and then summons the OG Fallen of Albaz. And what that does is, on summon, you discard a card, and then fusion summon using Albaz and any monster on field. Well, I say that, but he can't use his own monsters. He has to use my monsters and Albaz. But the problem lies in the fact that Illusion Gate is resolving. My opponent, for some reason, thought Illusion Gate was a continuous spell. I don't know. Don't ask me. But that was a major misplay. Because regardless, his monsters are going to be destroyed. So yeah, all his monsters die, and I summon Ecclesia, and then I go straight into. I think it goes straight into battle phase. Yeah, go straight into battle phase. So go straight into battle phase, attack with Red Seal and Ecclesia. Well, I first was counting all the tuners in the graveyard to ensure Red Seal's attack. But yeah, I go into battle to attack him directly with Red Seal and his own Ecclesia, and then in main phase 2, I normal summon Clip, Synchro Clip and Ecclesia away, and mistakenly put his Ecclesia in my graveyard. But yeah, I use her and Clip to summon Loudness War. And then the Clip banish honestly doesn't matter at this point. But yeah. When I saw 3 Ash Blossoms and 1 starter and a Fua, I thought it was a pretty bad hand. Little did I know, it was a pretty cracked hand. It was an insane hand that I didn't even think was even good, because seeing 3 Ash Blossoms may sound like a good thing, but when you have like 1 starter that can be negated, if you remember what Farfa said, 3 hand craps, 4 hand craps, and a 1 card starter. I don't usually talk like this, but yeah, that's basically what my hand was. But little did I know, it was a pretty broken hand. And my opponent is now just kind of spiraling. He top decks Fallen into Virtuous, if you could see his hand. And now he's just kind of struggling. So he activates Branded Fusion, and I activate the last Ash Blossom, and he just instantly gives up. His hand was pretty bad. And I was like telling him I drew all 3 Ash Blossoms in my starting hand. I'm not gonna lie, this was probably the funniest duel that I've ever had. Like, I've had a couple dumb duels, but the best way I could describe this is this like a master duel kind of game. You know, the type of games where you just run into people who don't know what they're doing, don't know what to hit, etc. You know, the typical casual master duel player, well, not casual, but a player that just doesn't know what they're doing, basically. And you find them a lot in master duel. I play a lot of master duel, and I've ran into a fair share of players that just kind of just do stuff. You know, the shiny button, as they say. But yeah, so I'm going to go over some of the things that could have made a difference. So, if you remember in that first duel, when I activated Called By on his 5 mana, he had Sting face down. If he activated the Sting, he would have returned 5 mana to his deck, and then 5 mana would resolve. But he didn't do that, as you saw. And then, Ecclesia in that and then Ecclesia on his following turn after I broke his entire board. If he summoned OG Fallen of Albaz, that would have been a better play, because he would have at least fusioned his own monster and my monster to summon Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon. But even if he did do that, I had Loudness War to copy Mix's effect. So he would just go -1 for, I wouldn't say no reason. It would have been a play, but it still would have been pretty bad. He had Branded Fusion, but if you remember, he had Branded Fusion. Regardless of what would have happened, he would have been screwed, because he would have been screwed. Fallen of Albaz would have been blown up by Loudness War's copying effect from copying Mix. Branded Fusion would be negated off of Red Seal. And then him adding 5 mana with Lucius's effect was just kind of funny, because I Called By, he let it resolve. It's negated until my next turn. So yeah, it's just It's just kind of funny. So yeah. What? So what's the lesson I could say right here? Read your cards. You know the stereotype. Yu-Gi-Oh players can't read. Yeah, that's just basically how I could describe it. Read your cards. Read not just your cards, your opponent's cards. If you remember, reading is fundamental. Sorry, sorry. I just couldn't help myself. It's just funny. It's just funny. Duel again, master duel kind of duel. And yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I'm hoping that pretty soon I can post a deck profile of what cards I was running for my Kewl Tune deck pre Blazing Dominion. And then post Blazing Dominion, I can give you guys an updated deck. Maybe after I get some duels in after Blazing Dominion's release. But yeah, also, one more thing. You remember back in my first video, in the Blue Eyes Primate video, I mentioned a Beyblade video. Well, about that. I did not like how those videos came out. Well, more specifically, the recordings. I didn't like how those came out because some of those just looked bad. Some of my opponents just kind of like there was kind of like screwed up, or I screwed up, or rather it'd be or sometimes the battles were boring, or the camera angle or the shading was just bad. Not shading, the lighting. Yeah, yeah. Long story short, I didn't like how they came out. So yeah, that video's not coming out. However, there is another tournament hosted by Rogue Hero BBX, or just Rogue Hero, at my locals, the same locals that I record these videos at. So I'm hoping that I will get those videos out, I'm hoping I get recordings, and hopefully those come out good. I don't mind sharing my losses. Like, it's not like because I will tell you, I did lose a lot in those videos, but I didn't mind posting them because, you know, it's all about fun. It's all about fun in the end of the day. I just did not like how the video looked from a different perspective, a video perspective. I just didn't like how they looked overall. But I'm hoping that this Beyblade tournament will be better. And win or lose, I'm all about having fun. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys next time. Vestaviri